This evening, with the election just 2 days away, the State Election Commission says nearly half of all registered voters here in South Carolina chose to vote early. Well, new tonight, the commission has just released the final early voting numbers. News 19's Chris English has been combing through the data and has more.
And Rachel, tonight elections officials tell us the state saw a record turnout for early voting, with over 45% of registered voters across the state having already cast their ballot.
It's historic. We've never seen this many ballots cast before any election day in our state's history. So very strong numbers overall across the state. It was very smooth. So we're really pleased with the turnout from the early voting period and how it went.
John Michael Cantillano with the State Election Commission says South Carolina's first presidential election with early voting has been a success.
This is our first presidential election with this early voting rule. So we didn't really know exactly what to expect. So we just planned for an extremely high turnout and that's what we got.
New numbers just released show that nearly 46% of South Carolina's over 3.4 million registered voters chose to vote early, setting new records. That includes the over 90,000 absentee ballots already received by the state, as well as the close to 1.5 million people who voted early in person. Cantillano says we may see even more records broken on Election Day.
The most ballots ever cast in an election was in 2020, the last presidential election, which we were around 2.5 million votes or so there. So with just 1 million votes on Election Day, we could pass that, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
Officials point to several reasons for the large turnout of early voters, including convenience.
A big reason, though, is just that we've had more elections with it under our belt now. As more voters have done it, as we've had more elections go by with it, voters have liked it, and it's easy to see why. I mean, you have options. You have 2 weeks to get your ballot cast rather than cramming it all into a 12-hour window on one day, Election Day. So I think voters have really appreciated having options, and the turnout is reflecting that.
And Cantillano says there's still about 18,000 absentee ballots that haven't been returned. Again, officials say we could see a state record set for the most votes ever cast in an election if 1 million people head to the polls on Tuesday. In studio, Chris English, News 19, WLTX.